this is Lisa with creativecanines.blogspot.com, and I'm here with Copic tutorial number 5, a continuation of Copic tutorial number 3 on how to color skin tone. We're going to work on the rest of the body today. I've already pre-colored the face and the hair on my image, and this image is called Lounging Around by Sassy Studios Designs. I'm going to use my favorite skin tone markers, which are E1, E00, and E000. I'm going to start, let's take a look at her legs. And I think that bodies pose a little bit of difficulty sometimes for people, especially legs. And you have to take into consideration where the shadows are going to fall. And she has a lot of different shadows here. Let's start on this bottom leg. Not only is there going to be a shadow, there's going to be shadow cast by this top leg over the bottom leg, so I'm going to put my E1 in there. There's the light source is coming from this direction, okay? So if my light is strongest here, this is my opposite. So my light's going to be less light here, which means I'm going to put my darker color there. Okay. Now also you take into consideration this leg. This leg up here also shades her thigh here, as well as the way her arm is holding. So in retrospect, it's almost like you're doing a top-oriented shading on this one, and that's just because of the way that the different parts of her body are casting shadow onto her. I'm going to then go into my E00 and feather blend into that E01. So one thing that you have to think about when you're looking at these images is not only where your light source is, but what other things in your picture or your image could be casting shadows. Now I'm going to go with my lightest color, my E000. I'm going to blend that in. So her thigh is actually going to be lightest here because the darkest, which is the dark opposite, opposes the light. Here's the darkest part. Here's my light source. But we also had to take into consideration there's a lot of shadowing happening here from her other leg. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of blend this in a little bit better. As your Copics dry, they're going to get lighter, but you're also going to see where you have harsh lines. And it may take more than 1 or 2 times to go ahead and get these images blended out. Okay. Now I'm going to look at this portion of her leg. I'm going to grab my E01 and I'm going to put in my dark portions because the light source is coming here. Okay. This side opposes the light, so this side is going to be darkest. So I'm going to lay in the shadow in here. Yeah, you also have to take into consideration this top leg is shading this bottom leg. Okay. Now you also have this foot shading. So you have a similar thing that's going on over here. Also with the shoe is going to be shading the foot in both directions. So I'm going to add a little E01 there. I'm going to go back in with my E00. I'm going to start to blend that in. And I don't use a lot of ink as I'm laying down color. I go in a little bit at a time. I also just use the very tip portion of my brush tip. That allows me to get more control for my color. I'm going to go in with the E000 and put in my last color, which is the lightest. Now depending on how that dries, I may need to go back in again. Okay. Now we're looking at this same leg here. This is my light area. Opposing my light area is my dark area. So this is where my shadowing is going to be. And that's pretty much more traditional like we've been doing. This image is a little bit more complex. It's called Lounging Around by Sassy Studios Designs. I love her images. They're so much fun to color. They're more realistic images, and they're so cool. She has such a variety of different things that you can look at. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to come back over here. Get rid of any harsh lines. Okay. Now, the one other thing I do is when I'm coloring anything, but bodies in particular, is I'm going to go back when I'm done and I have it just the way I like it, and I'm almost there, is I'm going to go back and I'm going to lay down a little bit more of a deep color, because the way that you get highlights and shadows and the blending to look more realistic and less like a picture and more realistic in 3D is by adding contrast. And the way I like to add contrast in these images is I go in any place where there would be a deep shadowing, I'm going to add a sharp shadow underneath. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and we've done the leg. Let's go ahead and look at this arm here. And I'm going to bring you into the arm. And the arm can be a little tough. There's a lot of different light sources going on there, isn't there? I'm going to bring you in a little bit here. Get my video camera to cooperate. Okay, we're going to look at this arm. And the reason we're looking at this arm is because this arm does pose a little bit of a difficulty. This is our light source, so this is going to be the lightest here, okay? This on the opposite side is going to be the darkest. Once again, you have this brim of this hat that's casting a shadow on her arm here. You also have the crease or the fold of her arm that's going to cast a shadow. Now, shadow here. I'm going to go in with my lighter color, the E00. I'm going to blend that out with a modified feather stroke. I actually blend into the other color. I find that gives me a smoother color. You have to be kind of careful with these skin tones because the E00 and the E000 go together, but you throw in that E01 with the E000 and you've got yourself problems. So you have to really kind of be careful. I'm not going to put any E000 on this arm, and the reason being is this brim is almost completely covering the arm. So I'm not going to get a whole lot of highlight or a whole lot of lightness there. Go in with my E000 here. Okay, I want to go over one more area with you, and that's her neck, and I think we've got time for that. Her neck, her head's going to cast a shadow on her neck. So underneath her head there's going to be the darkest, and in her cleavage here, she's going to have some dark too. This is the farthest side away from the light. Now her neck's going to also have shadowing from her hair, which I added in with my E01. Now my E00. Go in and blend that. Followed by my E000. So here's what I want you to try this week. I want you to try to do an image that has a lot of skin to it. Try to color that and post it as a card or a layout for this week's challenge.